Well, from matters of the budget now to, well, it's also around budgets as well, because we must budget for how we're going to implement our laws. And if the Electoral Act is passed by the National Assembly, it's already before the president, and the president, we understand, is considering it. He's written a letter to INEC to guide or to recommend, we understand, on whether or not he should go ahead with the signing of the budget. Now there are talks around what it would cost, because it would seem that the most contentious item right now is direct primaries, the mode through which parties will elect or select their candidates. The Electoral Act is prescribing that direct primaries be the way to go. In the past, it used to be left to the discretion of the parties who picked either direct or indirect primaries. But this Electoral Act, as amended, is now being specific. Well, it's not an act yet, it's a bill going to, propose to the president to sign. The amendment has been passed by the National Assembly, but it's not yet signed into law, that direct primaries be the way to go. There's going to be a cost attached to that. And figures are already flying around. Figures that have now prompted the House of Representatives to invite INEC to come and, shed light on it. But there are questions as to whether, when we hear figures, flying in the rumor mill, should we just invite INEC based on that? We have with us this morning Honorable Leke Abejide, who is the Chairman House Committee on Customs and Excise, also a member representing Yagba East, Yagba West, Mokbamuro Federal Constituency, and representing, is elected on the platform of the ADC in Kogi State. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, Nigerians.
Well, you moved that motion on the floor of the House based on, so we'll say hearsay. We know that INEC has been speaking on what it will need to conduct direct primaries, but we haven't exactly heard it mention money. So where did this figure of 500 billion naira come out from? Where did you hear it from?
Thank you. Everybody, majority agreed that this electoral bill, as passed by the National Assembly, if signed into law by the president, will be the best that will ever happen to this country. Because it will open the political space for the youths, for the majority of the masses who want to partake in selecting in the leadership recruitment process, but don't have the opportunity. The issue of cost, if you listen to, I listened to analysis even on channels, that people are saying it's going to be very expensive, it's going to cost a lot of money, that Nigeria doesn't have that kind of money now. And not quite long, people start banditing that there are lots of costs in form of 500 billion naira that is going to cost Nigeria to be able to conduct direct primaries, that INEC need a lot of personnel even. I want to say that INEC is not going to conduct this direct primary in every polling unit. It is only the wards. And right now, they have their staff across all the 774 local governments. For example, in my local government, I have only 10 wards. And I want to tell you that INEC have staff that can go around these 10 wards. And if you want to, and I have 82 polling units in my local government. So it's not polling unit by polling unit, it's ward by ward. And if INEC has not even come out and say, this is the amount it will cost them if they want to do it themselves, how can somebody be talking of costs that will be a stumbling block from President assenting into this bill?
Well, the president has written to INEC. The president has asked INEC for its guidelines, for it, to be a guide of some sort. And one would imagine that, the president is not going to rely on rumor mill. Why are we so concerned about the cost at this point?
Those people peddling these rumors, they have ulterior motive. You cannot say. They must have also filtered into the president's ear. So the president will not sign.
Is that the fear? The fear is that the rumor might have gotten to the president's ear and could prevent him from signing. Is that why the House of Reps is inviting INEC?
Yes, that is why now it's very timely. You know why? The budget is still with the National Assembly. If we look at the cost implication, and it is within what we can still undo with the budget of INEC, it will be added to the INEC budget so that the leadership recruitment process in Nigeria can be the best you can find around. What I mean is that if we don't allow the people to participate, we will continue to have problems. If you look at parties, why is it that they are finding it difficult to conduct congresses and conventions? It's because of the fear after the congresses, there will be fallout. Those people that are the money, they believe once you are not part of those who will decide who will go for other governorship or the presidential or House of Reps or senators, then you can make it. That is the meaning. So, but if you leave it open for people to participate, it will not be a business as usual.
But you are from a minority party, and from what we have heard, this is also going to affect minority parties adversely, because there have been talks around how the minority parties have been saying, oh, this direct primaries is going to stifle us. We do not have the funds to be able to conduct direct primaries.
And that is what I'm talking about.
But you seem to be in support of direct primaries.
I'm in support of direct primary. I did direct primary in my party. And do you know why? Let me say this. Those that are against direct primary today, I don't know, governors have come out that they are not against direct primary, but initially we heard that they are against direct primary. Tomorrow, they will be the ones singing this song, that direct primary is the way to go. You know why? When they leave this power, most of them now are jostling to come to Senate. When they leave this power and come to Senate, even though if they hand over to their children, they will find it difficult to control that children when the power gets into their hand. So they may try to shut them out as well. So you will see that when they come to Senate or later, they will now be thinking, we have done the best for them. Because nobody will be able to shut you out. As long as you are popular, you are on ground, you will continue to win your elections. I want to tell you.
So you tell me where they complained about small parties saying that this is going to stifle them and kill them. Where is it coming from?
Well, how many small parties have candidates or have elected officials, either in the National Assembly or at the state level? How many of them? I think now in the House of Reps, when you take APC, you take PDP, you take CAPGA, EDC, there's no another party again. Those ones that came on PRP and the SDP, you can't find them anymore. So why is the complaint?
What happened to them?
They have all decamped. They have all decamped.
Why haven't you decamped?
These small parties that are talking...
I want to ask you why you haven't decamped.
I have not decamped because, you see, in my place, in my own constituency, actually, it is because of what I'm doing that makes me to win election. It's not actually the party. Because people, majority, especially the old women, they don't even know my party. They only ask, well, it's, I want to speak my language now, my dialect, Omoli Waiki. That is the man that is paying Waik. So that is, if you are popular, you work yourself to the mind of the masses, you keep on making it. So I have not decamped because my party is not yet in crisis. If my party is in crisis, what will I be doing? I will have decamped.
Okay. Well,
to any of the bigger parties or ABGA.
I know that you told me that, you told me behind the scenes that a few of your own colleagues have decamped and your party, you say, is not in crisis. On what basis then were they accepted into the other parties?
Well, in my state, we are not in crisis. Maybe in their state. It's possible in their state, like my colleague from Ogun State, he said that there was a lot of crisis and the majority of his members defected. So what is he doing? So he has to join them. So, but in my own state, we are still one.
Okay, so you don't think that this is going to be a huge burden on your party?
It's not going to be a huge burden. I have told you, INEC is going to spend...
No, on your own party, on ADC, it's not going to be a huge burden to conduct direct primaries in all the 36 states of the Federation, because it's not only in Kogi that ADC exists, I imagine.
It's not going to be able to... See, the money they are even spending on indirect primaries is far, far more than what they will spend on direct primary. Let me tell you. For example, let me give Kogi State as an example. When Ibro, the former governor, wanted to leave, he brought out a candidate. And there are other candidates too that came, some of them very, very rich. When they discovered that, okay, Ibro is earning 600,000 per delegate, the other candidate increased his own to, I think, 900,000.
You have that information?
I had that information. I was on grants.
Were you in that party then? Were you in?
I was in PDP then. I was in PDP then. So the cost at the end of the day, I have not, let me learn. After that primary, the people who collected, when they had, after collecting 600,000 from this candidate, they had their sharing 900,000 from another place, they went there, collected the 900. Another person sharing 500, they went there, collected the 500. So for them not to cause problem, most of them didn't vote, they just went out secretly. Some went to where they're selling cars, bought cars, go home. So these are the things. In direct primary, you don't need to camp anybody. I mean, in direct primary, you don't need to camp anybody and start giving money. You don't need it. Once you are popular on ground, let me tell you, in my constituency today, if I say I want to contest, I would primarily want to, people will troop out without me giving them anything. Because I have been doing well for them. So it's not...
By doing well for them, it's about implementing projects, right? Not about what you're doing for them in the House of Representatives.
Before I came to government, I declared secondary schools in my place free. I was paying school fees free. You go to school, only have uniform. Then when I came in, I promised I would pay wife. People say, he's a politician talks that way. I said, okay. Even before going to government, I would pay. And I did so. When I paid, the second year, when I came in, my first year in government, that would be the second time I'll be paying the wife. The private owners of secondary schools came to me and said, people are withdrawing their children from public schools. They're not from private school, taking them to public school because of the wife that I'm paying. That I should please add the private school. And I added the private schools. I now pay for both private and public schools. So that is to tell you that they know if I say this, that's what I will do. It makes you to be popular as a politician. So and not only that.
It is true. But what I'm trying to say is that is outside of your responsibility as a House of Reps member. The House of Reps members' responsibility is to make laws, is to oversight, and also to represent his people in the House of Representatives.
You have now said it, represent your people. Represent your people does not mean the way I spoke on the floor. That is the representation. Indeed. You cannot go home except you make life meaningful also for them. If you say, okay, I want to sponsor a bill, I want to move motion, I have so many motions, I sponsor a bill, so is that what they will eat at home? In Nigeria context, politics is not, that is not what the people at home consider as representation. What they consider as representation, what impact can you make in their lives?
Does it not bring a burden to you as a...
Of course, yes. It brings a lot of burden, not only to me, to all my colleagues as well. But if you don't do it, you cannot come back.
So if that is the situation, how is direct primaries now going to help anything? How is a young man, for instance, who is perhaps just working, because I imagine that you were a businessman before you went into politics. Is that correct?
Of course, yes.
And so you were a man of means for you to be able to pay WAEC fees for all your people before you came to the House of Representatives. Yes. So imagine somebody who really has a desire to serve, but doesn't really have that wherewithal, that financial wherewithal. Doesn't it already, exclude that person if he or she doesn't have money?
That is what I'm telling you. it is even the direct primary that will give room for those kind of people. Indirect primary, they can never make it. Where would they get 1 million naira to give to one delegate to vote for them? Where would they get it? But this now, if people know you as a credible person, as a person who is respected in the society, not in a matter of money, that they know that when you get there, you will represent them well, people will vote for you in your primary without giving them anything.
Are you sure? Because you just said
and
that
again, you know
in our
what?
Nigerian context, it will not work. You said that yourself.
No, it's going to work for direct primary, but it's not going to work. In my own case, when I did the direct primary, I didn't know most of those people who voted for me. So how can I give them money? I did not even spend a dime to give anybody. Anybody, when they ask me that today is direct primary, today is primary, whatever they are going to get, I say, for me, I don't have money to give you. If you want to vote for me, you vote for me. If you don't vote for me, you leave it.
So this 500 billion now that you're saying that we should invite INEC over, the INEC chairman over. If he does come to say that 500 billion is how much it's going to cost, this is just for example, do you think that would be too steep a cost for us to include in our budget just because we want to conduct direct primaries?
Whatever it costs us to have a quality leadership recruitment, the advantage or the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages. Why is it that we're having problems today? It's because of the leadership people. I've listened to channels almost, I watch channels, but even my last child, they all know that I watch channels day in, day out. I don't mean Sunrise Daily and I don't mean Politics Today. So I have listened to people talking about leadership recruitment process in this country that is wrong. So why don't we once and for all correct this? So, and I believe, and you will hear, let the INEC chairman, we have done our own independent investigation, it's far less compared to what they are talking about.
What's the figure from your own investigation?
Maybe we should wait for INEC chairman to say it. But I am sure it's far, far less.
Okay, let's go to Lagos now. I understand my colleague Ayo has questions for you. Ayo.
Well, Honorable, it would seem like you almost took the question right out of my mouth, saying, what kind of estimate should we be looking at? But INEC, according to from the conversations we've had with Mr. Festus Okoye, who is the National Commissioner and Chairman of the Information for INEC, has said that, well, it might be a little difficult to execute because that means that, just as you said, they have to deploy personnel to all the wards, maybe not all at the same time for all the political parties, but all the wards all over the nation. So in terms of taking action on these direct primaries when eventually the president signs or the bill becomes law, did the National Assembly also factor in the personnel costs at the time that the law was being passed?
Thank you so much. Well, that's what I'm saying, that when the INEC chairman comes, he'll be able to tell us what is going to
If the National Assembly considered the personnel, I'm asking if the National Assembly considered the number of personnel that will be required for INEC to execute the direct primaries.
Yes, I said it from the beginning of this conversation, that INEC already has staff across all the 774 local governments. It's not that they are just going to look for staff. They have staff that go, and don't forget, the primary election is going to take place only in the wards, not polling unit. Even when we are doing the general election that is polling unit by polling unit, INEC has staff that go around this polling unit. Like my local government now, for example, I have 82 polling units. And you will see all INEC staff in all the 82 polling units. But now in this primary, it's only 10 wards. So those INEC staff that are spread across these 82 polling units, we only work in 10 wards. So they have the personnel already. It's not that they are going to add more cost to that.
But don't forget that INEC has often said that most of the time when they have to, perform all of these activities, they use ad hoc staff, which have to be paid as well. So that's why I'm asking. I mean, how many? INEC cannot have full staff of up to 10 per ward at any given time. How many people do you expect that the National Assembly, for instance, factoring would be required to monitor or to at least observe the primaries at each of these wards that you're talking about?
Well, I'm not the INEC staff, but I want to know, even though INEC is going to need additional staff, they will only need very little. No, we have army of unemployed youth in Nigeria. It's also an avenue to even employ more people. I believe that even though they're going to add more staff to themselves, it's going to be very little. It's not going to be more.
What was the position of the House Committee on INEC about this? What were the recommendations made by the House Committee on INEC about this direct primary before it was finalized?
It's in the public domain. It's beyond the committee. The committee did their job, and they brought it to the plenary, and it was unanimously passed that direct primaries would be the way to go. So it's not the committee this time around. It is the whole House now that pass it and then send it to the president for assent, which I believe the president himself will not have reason to hold assent because he is a product of direct primary. And is a man that wants the people, the general populace, to participate in political processes. So I believe the president, you can see, everybody is speaking in support. Even those governors that were against before, they are now in support. I told you just something, maybe you didn't listen, that even the current governors, you will see when they come to National Assembly, in the next dispensation, they will be happy that even the direct primary is the best. Because at that time, some of them will be finding it difficult to even go to their own state. Look at what happened in Gombe State. Here, Senator in Gombe State, Senator Goji cannot even go home. His own godson made it impossible for him to go home. And this is what you can know. For those now that think they are going to put their own very loyal person, it's going to be the same way. You will find out that even your own godson will shut you out. He will not want you to come back to National Assembly. But if you are on ground, nobody, no governor or no any senator can say you should not come back. Because once the people want you, the people's will prevail.
Well, we also note that direct primary is not exactly an INEC responsibility. What the INEC is going to go and do is observe. It is the responsibility of the parties to conduct their own primaries. Isn't that correct?
It was correct before this bill was passed. But now, INEC has a responsibility now. That is why I'm telling you that...
So you're saying that in the new bill, as passed by the National Assembly,
yes,
INEC is the one going to conduct the direct primary?
Yes, INEC is the one going to conduct the direct primary. INEC will be the one, the votes will count. It's not that somebody will sit down in his room and just write names and pass it and say they have conducted direct primary.
So it is not that INEC is going to go and observe anymore?
It's beyond being observed at this time. That is why you see people are fighting against it, because they know there is going to be real election, real primary election. It's not a matter of observing. Why is it that we ask INEC to take charge? It's because people have abused even the direct primary they did before. People will just sit down, write names and put figures. See what happened in Anambra State recently, where the figure that the candidate got, he could not even get maybe 1/4 of it in the real, because somebody just sat down and write the names and put the figure out. If INEC is in charge and conduct this primary, it will never be so. The vote will count.
We're not increasing INEC's responsibility before the actual elections itself?
See, all electoral processes supposed to belong to INEC. It's supposed to belong to INEC.
Even including the one that the parties by themselves should be able to conduct?
Even who registered these parties? Who registered these parties? Is it not INEC? The parties were registered by INEC.
Yeah,
why is it that now I license you, then you want to be my boss?
The manner in which we're going at this rate, it would seem that we'll soon invite INEC to conduct the business of parties for us as well.
Can't you see that it's better for us? Look at the way INEC is improving these days. People now have confidence. People that don't want to play politics. People like me, I didn't want to play politics. This last election, I didn't want to contest. It was pressure. Before I actually accepted, I didn't want to go. And when I agreed to go, PDP agreed to that I should come and take the ticket. And I said, I don't want that ticket. Let me look for another party. And we brought in ADC. You understand? Because of the confidence we saw in that election, I believe vote will count. And vote actually counted. Now, if you don't perform, forget it. You can't make it again.
Honorable Leke, perhaps what you're saying is your own personal suggestion. Maybe that's your own understanding. But from what we understand of that particular bill, INEC is still supposed to be an observer, not the one conducting the primaries.
See, INEC is going to be beyond being an observer. See,
that's the expectation you're having. That's the expectation.
And that is how it's going to be.
Okay, well, let us wait and see what eventually happens. But from those who should know and those who know, they say that, INEC is only going to be an observer. We'll see eventually how things eventually pan out. We have to thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. We continue to wish you all the best as you represent your people in Kogi State. We've been speaking with Honorable Leke Abejide, who is the Chairman House Committee on Customs and Excise and also a member representing Yagba East, Yagba West, Mukbamuro Federal Constituency, and was elected on the platform of the ADC in Kogi. You're welcome. Thank you once again for coming on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.